the big news out of Liverpool is still whether or not Trent Alexander-Arnold will get tied down to a new contract. Obviously, with 1 year left, he can sign a pre-agreement anywhere on January 1st. Been linked with Real Madrid for God knows how long. How important is it to Liverpool to get this contract done before the end of the window? And if not, do they absolutely need to sell in order to not just lose a player of his caliber for free?
Well, Will, it's interesting. I've been looking at Liverpool, and we've discussed it over the last few weeks about what's really going on. I've defended the whole situation, saying, look, Arne Slot has got to come in there. He's got to take his time to review the squad. He's got to work with the powers that be, with the sporting director, and he's got to work out how he's going to do it. Now, I'd say that's okay. They've still got time. Now, I think the clock is starting to move on a little bit. It's now, as I say, just about 3 weeks to go. I would start to get more concerned if it goes to next week. If we're still having the same conversation next week, I'd be more concerned, because then time pressure does become a factor in every negotiation. Up until now, and probably for this next week, you've still got the ability to try and craft deals together without that time pressure. But there's still big question marks, not only on Trent. You've got Van Dijk, you've got Mo Salah, etc., and even Alisson. There's some big question marks now. The question mark in my mind, and I've been thinking about this a lot, is: do you actually take the hit on a player like Trent and just have him for he can start signing, as you say, pre-contracts from January the 1. But I think there'll be a move made. I think he will go. But do you want to just forego that? He's got 1 year left on his contract. What were you going to get for him? Maybe 25, 30 million, but possibly for 1 year. Will you accept that and then have that as a cost for playing him for one last season? That's the sort of thing that Liverpool are now looking at over a number of players, as to how much is this season going to be worth for them. As a transition season, it could well be worth a lot that they actually keep some of those players and forego the transfer fees. And it's a very interesting way to look at it. And I've been trying to look at how that numbers, they may transpire. And there is a case to be said that could be done. And if they do challenge for the league, or at least get into Champions League, then that becomes sustainable. So they've got some tough questions over this next week, and it is coming to a head. And Arne Slot is going to have to make some very interesting decisions along with the sporting director. Liverpool have got a very good group behind the scenes that will done all the data crunching and know all of that, as I say. But they may have decided that maybe 100 million of foregone transfer fees is worth it to have stability for another season. It's not ridiculous. So anyway, I'm watching that one very closely. So we'll see how that transpires, as I say, and we'll talk about it next week, I'm sure.
For sure. And do you think any part of the fact that some of these contracts and potential outgoings are slowing down the incomings? Obviously, the Zubamendi deal has just collapsed. Still waiting for that real first Arne Slot signing. Do you think they need some money to come in order to make signings, or this is just a new regime and trying to figure some things out behind the scenes still?
Yeah, I don't think it's a financial issue. I think it's a new regime taking their time to try and get things right. Look, big shoes to fill after Klopp, and so they've got to be sure that although he left it in great shape, they've got to be sure they want to put their own fingerprints on things. They want to get it right in terms of a transformation. There'll be a whole lot of different challenges of which positions are stronger, weaker, who they've got coming through. A lot of questions to ask before a season starts. Now, as I say, that clock to me has just started to tick, so we'll be watching it closely.